Welcome to Monday, October 13th, 2025. This Day Weather Podcast is being brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you're injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at WyomingAdvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. As we look into a new week here heading towards the middle of October, it's going to stay busy. So we're going to have more scenes like this of more fresh snow in some of the mountains. And we're not done yet with all the subtropical moisture. Wow. The rainfall in parts of Arizona, Colorado, Utah, into the deserts of California has been impressive. And there's still subtropical moisture that is coming off the eastern Pacific into that part of the world. And this is also going to be aided by another strong, well-formed storm coming down the west coast as we go through the course of the next several days. So we're still going to be looking at potential flooding problems in those areas I just mentioned for another day. Not as widespread as the past weekend, though. Another round of colder, windy, wet weather, especially for the northern Rockies, parts of the Pacific Northwest, will take place mid to late week as that west coast storm system heads eastward. And we do have to keep an eye on things because the middle to the end of the week, there could be just enough difference in the track of that system that could change the forecast. We'll show you why here as we go into the middle to the end of the week. Beautiful shot here of fresh snowfall in Teton Valley, Idaho. Several inches of snow there. Holy Cross City, Colorado, picking up some snow. Now this is up high at 11,000 feet as the snow levels were fairly high, at least in the central and southern Rockies, due to that warmer subtropical flow. Nonetheless, enough for a snow bow in Estes Park, Colorado this weekend. You don't get to see snow bows very often. And then here's a shot of that subtropical moisture moving up into Utah this past weekend, and a little more snow for the bighorns, the northern bighorns especially, having a lot of early October snow, and there's more coming this week up there. And here's a shot of the downpour of the rain that came in sheets and waves across Mesa, Arizona over this past weekend. And a nice, beautiful cloud shots coming on in. There was just a lot going on this week at all levels of the atmosphere all across the West, depending on where you were, but also some beautiful sunrises and sunsets as well, as you can see from these photos. The satellite activity this morning is showing still subtropical moisture down here across the southwestern United States. It's getting out into the plains, and you can see the swirl of clouds here off the coast of Washington and Oregon. Another well-formed Pacific wave is coming down, and you can see that. Now, the subtropical moisture is not nearly as deep as you can see here, but there's still some. And this low, the counterclockwise circulation, is still going to feed moisture into the southwestern areas of the U.S., and especially right here through the course of the next 24 hours. So we still have flood watches and advisories in effect from southwest Colorado, where we had mentioned last week that there could be some very heavy rain there, and there was a lot of flooding in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And then you can see a lot of southern Arizona still in queue to get more rain. Freeze warnings and frost watches for the northern plains and the high plains, and we have winter storm warnings for the Sierra Nevada, winter storm watches and advisories for the Pacific Northwest Mountains and the Northwest Mountains of Montana and the mountains of northern Idaho, as these Pacific waves are getting more frequent and getting stronger. And here you are. This will be by noon today. That low is going to basically, instead of swinging east at first, it's going to go south right along the California coast before turning east into the Great Basin. So we have these circulations continuing to work, where the subtropical flow of air coming into the southwest United States and the southern and southwest areas of the Rockies continues to move in. And then colder air comes down here along the coast as we got that high pressure ridge developing in the eastern Pacific. What happens after the next couple of days is where we have a couple of question marks, but nonetheless, we're going to have active weather. So here's your subtropical moisture. Your precipitable water is still very, very high across the southern Rockies and parts of the desert southwest. And it sticks with us with the next wave coming in along the Pacific coast during the day Tuesday. So between now and Tuesday night, so this is through midnight Tuesday, You can see that southwest and western Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, look at Nevada and California. Look at California getting some October rain and some high Sierra snows. So this has been a pretty busy October in this part of the world, especially the far west and southwestern United States, with these Pacific waves and that subtropical moisture working in unison. So there's still going to be, as we start the week, some shower activity, although the southwest winds aloft will bring in some warmer temperatures along and east of the divide. Now by Wednesday, the system begins to head east, but we've got a little bit of an issue with the modeling and an issue with what could happen with this low here. Notice it gets detached from the main jet stream up here. You see this elongation of the trough wants to be north-south. Some of this energy wants to get back to the mothership up here. And so what it's doing is it's elongating this trough and wanting to pull it north more towards Canada, taking more of a northerly route. And it may very well do that, but I've seen this movie before to where this ends up becoming more detached and ends up further south. I see this in previous Octobers where you just have to be careful that it ends up taking more of a southerly track than predicted, which will really affect forecasts in the west depending on where you are. So you can see that the west coast low heads eastward. So as it heads eastward, it'll bring cooler, active weather back into the central and northern Rockies, the central and northern plains, and all across the western United States. So this is what I mean by wanting to go back to the mothership. So here it is on Wednesday. By Friday, it lifts northward more towards the Dakotas, more towards Saskatchewan and Manitoba, with colder air filtering in on the back side of the system, bringing a big cool down by the end of the week and the start of the weekend to the west. However, if it doesn't go back to that northerly route, we'll have a different track. Here is the forecast precipitation for the 3-day period from Wednesday, Thursday into Friday into Saturday morning. You can see that Montana, North Dakota, western Wyoming, and eastern Idaho, northern Wyoming could see significant moisture in the form of cold rain and a little bit of wet snow on the plains and another round of snow in the mountains with that next Pacific system. And the further south you go, amounts are lower. However, this is where the however comes in. We could see the low track further south, and we just have to watch that. Snowfall will again be very impressive in Wyoming's western mountains, northwest mountains, Bighorns, southwest mountains of Utah. Again, that particular area has just been getting these systems and looks like it'll be getting it again. We will see significant snow with the Sierra Nevada as we go through the first couple of days of this week. It's not showing here because this is for the middle to the end of the week. Now, speaking of the track of the low, this is where we'll just watch it. The European model wants to take the low up into northwestern Wyoming by noon Thursday, taking it back up to hook up with the jet stream again. However, the AI version, the artificial intelligence, looking at this pattern and looking at the historical angle of what's happened before, mixing that in with the deterministic models, is showing, no, it's going more south. There's a really big difference in what would happen with the weather, especially in central and southern Wyoming and parts of Colorado and Utah, then eventually the Dakotas and Nebraska, if the AI version ends up being correct. And there is a little bit of a model bias at times, trying to get storms back to the jet stream, trying to merge them back. So there is a significant chance that we could have it go this way, it could go south, or it could be somewhere in between. My guess is it'll be somewhere in between, but it won't track as north as the models and the forecasts are suggesting. We'll just have to see. Nonetheless, as we get to the end of the week and the start of the weekend, it's going to get colder, the winds will pick up, mountain snow chances go up, and the weather pattern gets busy again. Have yourself a good Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.